the threefold distinction of the intellect as also of steadiness, O winner of wealth, Arjun, according to the modes to be set forth fully and separately. Shri Krishna addresses Arjun as Dhanamjaya, meaning winner of wealth. The meaning of Dhanamjaya, winner of wealth, in the Shankar Bhashya is given by Srimad Adi Shankaracharya Ji, that when Arjun had gone out on a victory march, that he won and came back with an immense amount of wealth, both human and divine. And that is why he got the name Dhanamjaya, winner of wealth. Digvijaya Manushyam Devancha Prabhutam Dhanamjit Vantena Asu Dhananjaya Arjunaha. The reason why God addresses Arjun here as Dhanamjaya, the winner of wealth, is that the threefold distinction of that the buddhi, the dhruti are very important. Shri Krishna says to Arjun to hear now the threefold distinction of buddhi, the intellect, and dhruti, which means steadiness, the power of resolve or patience. You will see dhruti in all of these meanings. Both these, buddhi and dhruti, can be distinguished according to the three modes of nature, be they sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness. Shri Krishna then says that he will set these differences out fully and separately. First of all, we must understand what the buddhi, the intellect, is. It is because of the intellect that human beings are distinguished from other creatures. Man is an animal, but man is a rational animal. But the difficulty is that human beings have used this rationality of theirs in order to rationalize their completely irrational activities. A person keeps performing activities that the reason can never defeat and keeps using the intellect in order to prove that what they did was right. If a person gets angry, then it's an animal instinct. But an intelligent person does not admit that he got angry. We ask him why he gets angry, and he says, if all of you are doing this, then why would I not get angry? He says that someone else had done something. Therefore, yes, he justified his own anger. In short, the activities that a lawyer of a criminal does, we do the same activity with our intellects throughout our lives. The lawyers of those who are in reality criminals and commit crimes know that they have committed these crimes, and they have to tell the lawyers that they have committed these crimes. But the lawyer keeps making such plans and twists things around in such a way that he proves that the person has not done the crime. Or if the person has committed a crime and it feels as if he would have to admit it and he has no other choice, then he says that the circumstances arose where his poor client had no other choice but to do it. This is what he does. You and I are the same activity as a lawyer of a criminal throughout our lives when it comes to matters about us. The more bad activities that take place, then the more that we try to justify activities, saying that what else could we look for, what could we done but for other people? We keep rationalizing. This is the wrong use of the intellect. The intellect should be used for vivek, discrimination. Of the very great philosophers, there was one by the name of Immanuel Kant. He said that there are two types of intellect, pure reason and practical reason. Pure reason is the Shuddha Buddhi, the pure intellect, which the Gita calls the Vavasik Atma Buddhi, the intellect fixed in determination. This is called Shubdha Buddhi, the pure intellect. And practical reason is Vyavahar Buddhi, the practical intellect, which the Gita calls Vyavasatmika Buddhi, or the Avyavasik Atmaka Buddhi, which is the intellect not fixed in determination. If the senses have demands and the mind becomes covetous for them, then the intellect runs after them and says to do this. The intellect knows that this is wrong, but the intellect loses its power of vivek, discrimination. As a consequence, this happens. The topic of the intellect is worth thinking about. This is because the intellect is the charity in our lives. It is said in the Katha Upanishad that Atmanam prahitam vidi shariram ratha mevatu buddhintu shariram vidhi mana pragaha evacha. The soul is the owner of the chariot, the body is the chariot, the senses are the horses of the intellect, the mind is the reins, and those reins are in the hands of the charioteer who is the intellect. If the charioteer of the horse is useless, or if the driver of the car is wrong, then who knows where this car will bump into? It is because the intellect has been spoilt that difficulties happen. The intellect is a very big topic and worth understanding. It is also worth understanding what the powers of the intellect are. It is also understanding what the characteristics of the intellect are. And it is also worth understanding what the weaknesses of the intellect are. The charioteer makes decisions. Let us say that you're in a car and you have a driver, and when you're leaving your house, you tell your driver to take you to the office. Then you may go to sleep, do your paperwork, attend phone calls, or your mobile phone or whatever else you have to do, but you have told the driver to take you to the office, and therefore the driver has to make the decision. For example, there's traffic ahead and therefore I should change lanes. There's traffic here as well and therefore I have to take other routes. You cannot keep telling the driver every moment that turn right, turn left and then stop at the red signal. If this were the case, then what would be the use of your driver? Rather than that, you should have sat at the steering wheel. There are many people like this. No, the soul is the owner and the soul just says that you can do this. Then the job of making decisions at every moment is that of the intellect. A lot of importance is given to the intellect. If I were to say it in another meaning, then the imprints of our experiences of the material world are picked up by the mind keeps collecting this data, and the intellect makes decisions based on this. The intellect is the power to make decisions. It is the power of vivek, discrimination. Madhusudan Saraswati ji has given a definition of the intellect in his commentary of the Gita as the attitude of the antakaran, the inner being, to distinguish between the meaningful and the meaningless, and the useful and the useless. The attitude of the antakaran, inner being, is the intellect. Srimad Ramanujacharya has said, while defining the intellect, that it is wisdom in the form of discriminative determination. Viveka purvakam nishe rupam gnanam. We live in the material world and therefore we have to discriminate at every moment. For example, we decide whether something is meritorious or unmeritorious, whether something is our duty or not our duty, whether something is right or whether something is wrong. That which does this is discriminative determination, and that's the intellect. God says that this intellect is of three types. He's going to describe this from the next verse. I'll continue speaking about the intellect in the next verse as well. The second thing that Shri Krishna explains in this verse is dhruti. Ramanujacharya says that once you have begun any activity, then no matter how many obstacles come to this activity, the attitude of persevering with the activity is dhruti. Anananika kriyaha vigno panipate api vidarana samartham dhrutihi. It is the power of steadfastness and resolve. It is a firm determination. It is a resolution to hold on with perseverance to what has been undertaken, even against all obstacles. Dhruti is the attitude of holding on to the activity, even if obstacles come. Today there's a very big lack of dhruti, steadfastness in society. There are many people who begin activities. When something new comes, then they immediately begin the activity, but very few people can persevere with the activity. Most people begin the activity and then stop it, begin the activity and then stop it, begin the activity and then stop it. As a consequence, they are unable to persevere with anything. Dhruti, steadfastness, is very important. A thinker by the name, I can't remember the name, but he says the same thing about this, that having steadfastness of the thoughts despite there being reasons for sorrow is called dhruti, steadfastness. Most people get frustrated and such things happen, yet such a person keeps his thoughts steady. When most people begin activities and after 7 to 10 days they say, I am getting frustrated, and they immediately stop the activity. Despite there being reasons for sorrows, having a steadiness of thoughts is called dhruti, steadfastness. This is dhruti, steadfastness. I said at the beginning that both the buddhi, the intellect, and dhruti, steadfastness, are very necessary. Why is this? The reason for this is that through the buddhi, the intellect, human beings decide their targets and their goals, while through the power of dhruti, steadfastness, human beings stick onto the targets and hold onto the targets. Both of these are necessary. First of all, the buddhi, the intellect, is necessary in order to decide the goal, and dhruti, steadfastness, is necessary to hold onto the goal after deciding the goal. Today there are a lot of intellectual people in society and decide things straight away that I want to do this and this is worth doing. These people are clever, and everybody's clever. Everybody knows what's right and what is wrong. Even Duryodhana knew. He said, Janam mi dharmam nachame pravrutti, janami adharmam nachane nivrutti, kenapi devane hridir shtitatna. I know what dharma is, and I know that which I ought to do, but I don't do this. I know what adharma is, but I do not stop myself from doing this. He knew what dharma is, and he knew what adharma is, and what is right and what is wrong. Everybody has this intellect, but the difficulty is that the connection between the buddhi, the intellect, and dhruti, steadfastness, has broken. Therefore, using the intellect alone creates difficulties. When people become too intelligent, then it creates difficulties. This is the difficulty of society today. People have started becoming too intelligent, and that's why there's a need for a lot of mental hospitals. In ancient times, you'll see that there was not a need for many mental hospitals, and there was not a need for so many psychiatrists. But people began becoming so intelligent that the need for it arose. The intellect that can understand everything else, the same intellect cannot understand its own goal. The intellect that can understand everything else cannot understand its own target. And perhaps it again understands then there is a buddhi, intellect, but there is no dhruti, steadfastness. Both of these are necessary. If we come to bhakti, devotion, then all the means that there are to attain the Lord, for all of these means, both the buddhi, the intellect, and dhruti, steadfastness, are extremely necessary. That is why in the Gita, both of these are described together, not once, but 3 times. They are there in the 29th verse of the 18th chapter of the Gita. Also, earlier in the 25th verse of the 6th chapter, God had said that, Shanay shaner uparamed buddhya dhriti griyasya. Let him gain little by little tranquility by means of reason, controlled by steadiness. The phrase buddhaya dhriti gataya, by means of reason, controlled by steadiness, is used in that verse, and it said by doing this one thing, little and little, one gains tranquility. In this verse, God placed both buddhi, intellect, and dhruti, steadfastness, together. Now we're on the 29th verse of the 18th chapter, but when we reach the 51st verse of the 18th chapter in the Gita, God will again say that buddhaya vishuddhaya yukto dhataya atmanam niyamaya cha, endowed with a pure intellect, firmly restraining oneself. This verse describes how one can control themselves through a pure intellect and by exercising firm restraint. The buddhi, intellect, and dhruti, steadfastness, always go together. They always go hand in hand. And I remind you again that the difficulty of today's times is that the buddhi, intellect, has increased, whereas the dhruti, steadfastness, has decreased. And that is why people attain the frustrations and become turbulent. God will speak about the different types of dhruti, steadfastness, that are of the modes of sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, and tamas, dullness, later on. In the next verse, we will see what type of buddhi, intellect, is described by God as of the mode of sattva, goodness. Let's go to the next verse.